Hello and good morning, you two. How are you doing?
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I got to tell you, I'm so proud of the two of you for bringing out something that it's almost like that you stepped out into the real world. You took one big glance at what is taking place, and you're saying, hey, look, we can have a voice. We've just got to figure out how to get that voice out of the people because they've got it. We can hear it in private circles, but it needs to become a part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you put a book like this together, Louder Than Words, how is it that you can come together as a team? Because, I mean, I don't know if I could ever write with another person. I mean, you guys got to be best friends or something.
So this is Ashley speaking. I actually love working together with other writers. The collaborative process just makes writing so much more of an enjoyable process for me because writing can be really, really lonely. So when Lexi and Maya Marlette, our editor, approached me to be a part of this project, it was a no-brainer for me. I'll let Lexi talk a little bit about how she came up with the idea and why she decided to work with Maya. But it was a no-brainer for me, and collaboration is something that I absolutely love.
So back in about 2020, I was a part of Reese's Book Club, and so I was doing a couple of events for them. At the time, the book that they were spotlighting was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, and her book editor is Maya Marlette at Scholastic, who's now the book editor of Louder Than Words. And so when I was speaking to her, I expressed that it was always a dream of mine to write a book, just because growing up, I'm just such a book nerd. I love reading. And so I kind of jokingly was saying it, not thinking that it would happen so quick as it did. But then the process got started. So I had an idea. Since I was a first-time author, I definitely thought that it would be just kind of maybe best if I also tried a collaboration. And so I had met with a couple of people, but I feel like the person that really got the story that I was trying to create was Ashley. And so everything aligned, and then from there, we got to work. But the whole process in itself was so smooth. We would go back and forth, bouncing ideas off of each other a lot. But it just, honestly, I feel like she was the only person that I would have wanted to write this book with, just because of the way, everything aligned. Yeah, it was a great process.
See, and that to me, what you just shared is the underlying story of this book in the way that, work together, people. It doesn't have to be a solo journey. Just because Daryl Hall and John Oates aren't liking each other these days doesn't mean the rest of us can't get along.
100%.
But when you're collaborating like this, though, to me, it's teaching your reader that, look, to have a voice, to take my art, because so much art and so much of the word that they've got on paper, it's hidden underneath their bed in boxes, and it needs to get out there and it needs to become a part of the community to help change, because we're in a moment of change right now, and we need leaders.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This is Ashley again. I feel like that was what we wanted to do with the book, was to just make sure that we inspire people and make sure that they understand that their voice matters. I know when I was in high school, there were certain things that I just felt like no one would listen to me about, especially as a kid or as a teen. I think it's sometimes hard to make adults and the world at large listen to you. So in the novel, we decided to use art as sort of a way to make people listen. But I think there's so many different ways, especially now, to make sure that your voice is heard. So yeah, we hope that when people read the novel, that they feel inspired to speak up for what they believe is right, to stand up for the causes that they have a passion for and strong feelings about. But it can be hard to do that, especially when you're a teenager or when you're young. But I also think that Generation Z is definitely the generation that is taking the world by storm in that way. They are not afraid to stand up and say, I believe in this. They're not afraid to put their best foot forward and to put their boots on the ground and really get out there, not only via social media, but also literally taking to the streets. So yeah, it was a really important part of the story that we wanted to tell, and I think it's only realistic to write characters who are willing to do that.
This book is more than just for young readers, and the reason why is because you do something inside this story that really opened up my heart, and that is when you enter a new school, you forget your past. It's the same thing as a place of business. When you go to a new job, your past is gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really great way to put it, actually. I definitely think that a lot of young kids, especially, I love the fact also that this is coming out in the summertime, because this is a great prep for kids that are going to new schools, are going to, leveling up to a different grade. But I think that's a really great point, is that sometimes you forget, or you're so quick to want to put everything behind you and to kind of create this new identity. It's a new chance to make new friends. It's a new chance to create a new perception that you hope that people will have about you. But still, that's sometimes not enough. Those things happen to you, and you need to acknowledge them and acknowledge the fact that they're a part of your story, but it's not the entirety of it. And so I think that's exactly what Jordyn is going through in that first year of, coming to Edgewood High. But I think that a lot of kids will be able to relate to it, especially as they go into the next new school year coming up.
I wish I could have been in one of your meetings when you decided that you were going to put this in the city that you did, Washington, D.C., because, I mean, when you read the book, you don't think of Washington, D.C., you think of your own community, because everything that's going on here is happening here. I mean, for instance, like one of the things that you put a lot of focus on, second chances. So many people are ghosted these days. They don't get a second chance, but you're giving your reader that opportunity. Man, maybe I should give somebody a second chance here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think second chances are really important, and really important to remember that they exist, right? Because especially when you're younger, everything feels like the end of the world. And it feels like any mistake that you make is all, it completely defines your personality, defines your future, defines who you are. And we wanted to make sure that we told a story that made it clear that that is not always the case. There is a possibility for second chances. And as far as DC was concerned, like when Lexi and I first met, we realized that we were both from Washington, DC, and that is just like, to meet another like native Washingtonian is like very rare, I think. So it immediately made sense for us to set the story there. And I feel like it just flowed, and it fit with sort of like the nature of gossip, going from private to public school, all of that kind of stuff. I feel like is very, while it can happen anywhere, I feel like in a city setting, there are parts of DC that feel so separate from each other. And yeah, it just really made sense for the story.
The fact that you said that this feels like your community, it feels like everyone's community, because it's our community to us, and so like that's where we grew up. Those just things that are so special to us about our home. I love the fact that it makes other people think about their own communities and their homes and their schools and friends and neighbors. So that just makes me really happy that that's the feel that you got when you were reading the book.
Wow, I hope you guys will take this to the fourth dimension, which is take it to a website of some sort, because you're going to create conversation with this book, and people are going to want to know, well, where can I find community? Where can I go where I can break free of the gossip and everything and the accountability? And I mean, I'm just so proud of you guys for putting this book out here this summer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, please come back to this show anytime. The door is always going to be open for you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you. We love that.
All right. Well, you be brilliant today, okay, you two?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well.